Hello and welcome to Project 3, the Literature Review, Getting Started. First we're going to go over the requirements of the project. These are the following requirements, and these requirements will be due in stages. First, you'll provide me with a 2-page review of the research topic with your research questions and research statement. You will need to make sure that you follow the research statement sentence structure at the end of the 2-page review, indicating the purpose of this research is to investigate X in order to understand, analyze, further investigate, argue for, etc., Y and Z. So a sample final research statement at the end of the final paragraph of your 2-page review of the research topic might be something like, the purpose of this research is to investigate embryonic stem cell research in order to further investigate the ethical implications of that research and its uses within the medical field for cancer research. You will also be required to annotate 6 academic sources. These sources should be from the academic journals that you have been investigating and have become familiar with through projects 1 and 2. They need to make sure that they follow the genre conventions for your discourse community. That means that if you're in the medical field, you should be finding sources that have clearly delineated genre structures such as an abstract, introduction, methods, results, and discussion. You are allowed to have 1 to 2 sources that are more general in its structure and maybe more informative in nature. And so these might be a little bit more for a layman's audience. They may be an encyclopedic type of article, or maybe a current article on the topic that you're investigating. When you annotate these sources, you will need to use the Cornell note-taking example. The Cornell note-taking example is going to be found under the folder for Project 3. And in here, you're going to record in the main column as many meaningful facts and ideas that you can. Then you're going to summarize these ideas and facts in the recall column. You need to summarize and clarify the meanings and relationships between these sources. This way, you're going to start making clear analyses and points that might be similar between the articles that you're looking at. So pay attention to when you're reading the articles. Do 3 out of the 6 articles all define the ethical considerations of genetic embryonic testing similarly? And if so, make a point of that. The reason being is that you will be using these sources together. You're going to need to synthesize and use these sources as one in a way. Rather than listing 1 source at a time, you might use 3 articles and summarize the definition of embryonic stem cell research for your definition of what that term means. You need to remind yourself why you chose the quote or facts. So in your recording of the column where you list meaningful facts and ideas, let me know, why did you decided to pick out that fact? Is it going to be useful for you for your definition of this research topic? Is it something that you think you would be able to use in the very introduction of your literature review when you're providing a very broad overview of this research topic? Is it more specific in which you're presenting some of the arguments facing this topic? Record those so that you remember, and I can also see how you think you're using this information from these sources. Also, reflect upon where you think you'll use this information. Are you going to use it to tell what the topic is about? Validate the research for your literature review? Are you going to use it with sources 3 and 6? Make sure that you try to consider how these sources fit together, how they're having a conversation with each other. That's the point of a literature review, is the conversations between multiple sources in order to provide background information about a research topic. Another thing that I would suggest is to highlight and combine. This means that after you've looked at your 6 sources, you might start to consider looking at the notes that you've taken and color code every note that you took from each article that defines the research topic in blue. And you might then go through all your sources and look and highlight from each of your sources notes that you've taken that indicate controversies within that topic, and so forth. This also will help you to combine and synthesize these sources and see how you can create conversations by utilizing more than one source to make a claim or a point, which again is the point of a literature review. In these 6 annotations, you should be able to use, if you've done Project 2 correctly, the article that you used for your own discourse community analysis in Project 2 as one of your sources. Therefore, you would only have to find 5 additional sources to utilize for this project. You're going to use these 6 sources to develop a literature review where you synthesize and analyze and combine these sources together into conversations with each other in order to provide a background and research focus for your research topic. That means rather than listing your sources source by source as you would in an annotation, you're going to try to utilize them together. For the introduction of your literature review, you will need to define or identify the general topic, issue, or area of concern. This way you provide an appropriate context for reviewing the literature. So you can't just jump in and start analyzing the articles that you have annotated. Rather, you need to provide us with a few paragraphs in your introduction telling us what is this topic about, why is this topic so important to research, how has this topic been researched based on the articles that you have found thus far, and what has been determined from this research in order to make your own claim that either all of this research is correct and you would like to extend this research, or all of this research, while interesting, misses a certain point, or while all of this research clearly defines this topic, it hasn't yet been tested. You're going to have to figure out what research kind of gap, what kind of research intervention you're going to have with using these sources. You've got to come up with some type of problem or new information that you can add to this topic. There has to be something that you're doing with these sources. And so first we need a background of this research topic and what has been typically done in regard to this research topic and what you're going to do. Are you going to question the approaches? Are you going to extend the approaches? Are you going to consider a different application of these approaches? What will you do? Next, you're going to need to point out the overall trends in which has been published about this topic. Are there conflicts in the theory, methodology, and evidence? Are there gaps in the research and scholarship? Or is there a single problem or new perspective of immediate interest? This is very much connected to the first bullet point, in which after you've given us an overview of the general topic, you then tell us what it is that you're going to be doing with this type of research. Whether you're going to analyze conflicts and methodology, evidence, and conclusions. Are you going to look at the gaps in the research? That means, have they missed something? Are you going to, are you going to look at a single problem or new perspective of immediate interest regarding this research topic? And then you need to establish your reason for reviewing the literature by using your research questions. These would be research questions that you are pulling from your 2-page summary of your research approach. This is also where you would be using that research statement where you'd say the purpose of this research is to investigate X in order to understand Y and Z, or in order to further develop Y and Z, or to look at the conflicting approaches to methodology for this research. And then in the end of your introduction, you have that particular research statement. The purpose of this research is to So this is where you'll pull some of this information from your 2-page summary of your research topic and utilize it in your introduction. In the body paragraphs, you're going to want to group research studies and other types of literature such as reviews, theoretical articles, case studies, etc., according to common denominators such as beliefs, reasons for research, similar contextual factors such as population characteristics, concepts under review, theories, or the conclusions of authors, or specific purpose or objectives of that research. There's plenty of ways to categorize your sources. You have to figure out how you're going to categorize them in a way that matches your own research question. So if you're questioning the research approach that is currently being conducted when researching this topic, then you might look at the reasons for research, or you might look at the purpose or objective of that research and all of the articles that you've looked at in order to categorize it that way. If you're more interested in the theory, then you're going to look at the theoretical approaches and frameworks that each article uses for analysis of this research and categorize them that way. Which ones use the theories in a similar manner, which ones do not, and why. But you're going to have to pick a certain type of categorization that works best for your research problem. And this is where conferencing with me is going to be very important, because you can give me your research topic and your research questions, and we can talk about what makes the best sense for categorizing and analyzing the literature. Remember, you can't look at the literature and talk about everything that there is in there, but rather you have to use the literature and take out the information that fits your own research purposes. You're going to summarize individual studies with as much or little detail as each needs, and then you're going to combine those sources together in a way that shows us which ones are similar and which ones are different. And again, this is where your Cornell annotations will aid you in this. You're going to have to give us strong topic sentences at the beginning of each paragraph to kind of give us an overview or kind of summary sentence of what you're going to be analyzing in regards to that research in that paragraph. So you need to be very clear in each paragraph what you're focusing on. What is the one topic that you're going to discuss? This is something that students I've been noticing are having difficulties in, which in a paragraph they will discuss 4 or 5 points. Each paragraph must only discuss and analyze one point. All right?